Hello and welcome to the RTS's online session series. I'm Minnie Stephenson and we've got Zai Bennett, Managing Director of Content at Sky UK and Ireland, waiting in the virtual wings to come and talk to us. The former BBC Three controller is now in his fifth year in the role. I'm here to ask him how on earth, in the middle of what feels like an apocalypse, frankly, the channel has been able to announce its biggest lineup of new and exclusive original shows this year, with 30 new Sky original films, 30 new original documentaries. That's 50%, I know you can do the maths, more original content than last year. So lock all the doors, turn your phone onto flight mode. No, this is not a hostage situation. And stay at home, will you? Most of us cannot even muster the energy to do the Joe Wicks workout, but Zai and the team, frankly, are overachievers and have been busy on Zoom teeing up 125 new Sky originals with the likes of Keely Hawes, Rita Ora and Dame Judi Dench, just to heavily name drop there. We'll find out about how production has been hit by COVID-19. Look for some insight into the future for Sky. Now CEO Jeremy Darroch has moved on. The impact of Sky Arts on the free-to-air market. Sky's commitment to sustainability, its strategy to achieve diversity in the workplace, and some deeply chin-stroking, serious media chat about public service broadcasting in the digital age. As well, so put your hands together. There's even a button for that on the bottom of your screen, not the wavy hand one, the other one. And welcome Managing Director of Content at Sky UK and Ireland, Zai Bennett. Zai, hello.
Hey, Minnie, how you doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So in true breaking news style, we have got an announcement on our hands. You are announcing that you have lots of new shows coming in 2021, which is handy given that everybody is now stuck in the house and you have a captive audience. So tell us what's coming up.
So I think that what we're announcing this week is the sort of culmination of like 5-6 years work. When I joined Sky, we were in the last weeks of shooting Fortitude, and that was really the first time we had a really big premium drama, sort of that cable US level show. But back then, Sky was still had in its memory Gladiators and things like that. So what it's been 5 years of really investing hugely in things that our customers love, in premium drama, premium comedy, premium entertainment. Huge success in that, but it's been a long time doing it. We've been doing it, and we keep putting the money in and we keep putting the work in. We know in 2019, we won more BAFTAs than Netflix, ITV and Channel 4 combined. And then last year we had the amazing success of Chernobyl. So what we're announcing today is really the continuation of lots of that. But then the new elements to it are that we're getting into original film for our Sky Cinema service. And we're now landing documentaries in a really big way at Sky.
So original storytelling has been so central to the work you do and the programming that you've pushed, but that can be a bit of a gamble, can't it? Do you ever worry about that?
No, not at all, because I think we're absolutely about investing in authorship, about getting asking creators to come to us with their best work. And often, creators have been musing and thinking about these pieces, especially in scripted, for years and years and years. It may take 2 or 3 years once we get it. It comes into us as an idea to develop it together and eventually get it to screen. But that's often been the culmination of 5-10 years work for these guys. So it's these people's absolute loves and their babies, and it's a privilege for us to be able to help them get them on telly.
Now, obviously, COVID has influenced the arts and the world, in a way that we could never have imagined. How has that affected the way that you commission?
So I don't think it's really affected the tone and style of what we're looking for. I think we've seen the viewing's gone up massively, which is across the board. We're really delighted at Sky because while that pie has got bigger, our share of that pie has actually grown as well. So our viewing went up by 20% across our entertainment channels year on year, but our share went up by 7%. So we actually took a bigger slice of the pie. I don't think what we saw in the first lockdowns and across what's happened across the last year or so has been that people are still watching lots of different types of telly. So it's not just about let's make fun, relaxing stuff. That's important as well. And we've got really great dramas that are a bit more fun and sort of a tongue-in-cheek, like Bulletproof, which launched recently for us, or Discovery of Witches, which is a wonderful, sumptuous piece, but it's really entertaining. But people are still watching Gangs of London or I Hate Susie, things that can be a bit more challenging and also a bit more grown up. So I think it's not about tonal shifts. What's happened has been about making sure you can still produce. So it's very much down to the practical, on the boots ground of what you do. And our producers and all the teams that make shows for us and our commissioning teams have done an amazing job of instigating protocols and making sure that we are incredibly disciplined in the way we make shows to be able to keep making them safely. That's the thing I'm really in awe of.
So let's talk a bit about the documentaries in particular, which sit on the Sky Documentaries channel, which launched last year. Which ones are you most excited about? I know you're not really, it's a bit like picking a favourite child, you're not allowed to say that, but which ones are you feeling there's going to be quite a lot of hype around?
But I think the thing for anyone who's watching this, is a producer who wants to pitch into us and thinking about documentaries for us, is think about narrative first. Don't think about agendas or be news driven so much. It's about a theatrical premium experience and storytelling. It's very much like drama. Character and narrative is really important in our documentaries. So a few that I'm really looking forward to. We've got a piece on Stephen Hawking, which has got amazing access to all of his surviving family, which is sort of unprecedented. We've got an amazing Tina Turner piece, which is absolutely superb, and again, absolutely utterly amazing access to her in that, and that's something we co-produce with HBO. Liverpool Narcos is a series we've got coming up where we look at how the drugs trade in the UK really was centred around in the 80s and 90s Liverpool as the port that a lot of the drugs came into, and how that criminal underworld worked. That's really fascinating. And one that's coming up really soon that I'm absolutely adore. I watched the whole thing just last week. Is Bruno versus Tyson. So it sort of tells the story of society at that time through the fights that these two guys had, and the very different ways they were perceived in their home countries. Right,
we're going to look at a clip now from the documentary in question. This is Bruno versus Tyson.
I would have reigned supreme if it weren't for Iron Mike Tyson.
Can Frank Bruno become our first heavyweight champion this century?
I can't picture him being a fighter. He's so awesome, such a sweet guy.
Mike Tyson is frightening.
He's an animal. He just loves to hurt people. I feel I was born to fight.
Bruno and Tyson weren't just significant boxers. They were cultural icons.
How you doing, Frank?
It's a story of hard work versus raw talent.
My dream is to win the heavyweight championship of the world. I've got my chance. I'm not letting it pass me, you know?
Frank cared about what people thought about him. That could have been a weakness.
I love my people. I'm not an Uncle Tom. I'm not a sellout.
Tyson had nobody to keep him under control.
I come across as ferocious because of my fear.
If there was one guy to beat Mike Tyson, it was Frank Bruno.
The doctor said it was way too dangerous, but Frank just refused to give up on it.
You're gonna miss me. I'm gonna miss you as well.
I don't want you to go, Daddy.
Oh no, Rach.
I knew something wasn't right. He was down, he wasn't happy.
Intimidated at all, Frank?
That one little bit. More intimidated by you.
It's all on the line.
Here is the moment of truth.
I'm here for you, baby. I'm here for you.
Zai, you don't necessarily need to be interested in boxing to watch this documentary. It kind of looks at two cultural icons as well as two boxers, doesn't it, this film?
Exactly. You forget, I mean, it's easy to forget that they were, the most famous people in the world at the time. And they absolutely were. They personified the culture of both of their countries. So absolutely, you don't need to be into boxing. I'm mildly interested in boxing, but I just watched it and adored watching it for telling me about how society was at that time and the attitudes and so on. So I found it really, and it's also beautifully put together.
Yeah, there's some really tender moments, interestingly, with Frank Bruno, and it kind of has a lot of heart and soul, which is lovely to watch. Now, of course, it's a particularly bleak time for lots of people who are freelance, lots of people in the arts. What kind of hope can you give to producers who are wanting to make docs in the future?
We're commissioning documentaries. I would say like there's no tomorrow, but at fairly fierce rates. So Poppy Dixon, who's running Factual for Sky, has come. I see her every week, and we talk about new ideas virtually every week, and we're commissioning things every week. So it's pretty good news. We're coming into this marketplace. We want really high-end pieces, and so we're definitely in the business for it.
And you have to be honest here, but what is the measure of success for the Sky Docs channel? Is it about ratings? Is it about critical acclaim? Is it about awards?
So the channels themselves are brands. They're really like brands, and they're very deep. They've actually got loads of on-demand viewing and catalogues behind. There's thousands of hours of documentaries and nature programming behind Sky Nature and Sky Documentaries. So our customers have got really rich experiences with them. But the commissions that we're making for them, it's fairly straightforward. They need to be talked about. They need to be loved and be people's favourite show. Something that really sparks conversation. That people go, I watched this documentary. You've got to watch it. So if they can recommend it to their friends, that's a measure of success. We're not necessarily looking at the channels themselves and the services themselves saying they've got to rate at X or Y. It's more about making sure customers have choice for us.
And we can take a look now at a clip from Shark with Steve Backshall.
Island of the Sharks. It's one of the last great sanctuaries for marine life on our planet. I've waited a lifetime to come here, but I'm sure it's going to be worth it.
So just looking at that, there's pure escapism watching that clip. Is that part of, Sky History and Sky Nature? Is it about allowing the viewer to sort of leave what is quite a bleak time at the moment?
Well, it's not specifically for the moment, but they are both doing really well at the moment. Sky Nature is about getting closer to nature and about making sure that we have, about in terms of what we're commissioning and asking the production community to bring to us, really premium, high-end pieces. So the Steve show is shot over the best part of a year, goes to amazing places. We're filming various other pieces, which I'm hoping to announce really soon, which are absolutely top-end, multi-million per hour pieces. In the blue chip natural history world. So they're the pinnacle of what we're commissioning. And then around that, we'll be buying and adding to that. But yeah, people are really enjoying that because, as you said, I think it is otherworldly and escapist. But I think, remember, people have a very varied diet of what they watch. You don't just eat chocolate ice cream.
Speak for yourself.
Well, sometimes, so yeah, well, maybe I do, as you can tell.
I was going to ask you, how important is it for you to attach kind of household names, talent, as we say in the trade, to these documentaries? Or are you happy to go with somebody who's sort of a rising star?
In terms of, in front of the screen, it's all about the narrative and the story. It's not a show we commissioned, but Millions did a brilliant job for us in launching Sky Documentaries. And that was a story of a scandal and of a big heist sort of, fraud. That the story's the star, really. And in that, there are some normal contributors who are, the police guy was amazing. Doug, I think his name was. There are people who are in it who end up becoming very televisual. Behind the camera, absolutely, we're looking for the best in the world, and we want to work with the best directors, producers. Equally, we're also happy in instances to try to bring people on and pair people up with. Make sure teams have got a really good selection of people, so we're also investing in the future.
Now, these channels obviously have a strong crossover with public service broadcasting. How intentional was that with the public service broadcasting review coming up?
Well, we weren't doing anything while we're thinking about that review at all. We always think about at Sky what's right for our customers. Our customers pay for our service every month. They can leave us if they want to. They don't have to. They're not under any obligation. So what we're doing is we're giving them shows that they really value. And we know that factual is amongst the most, as the genres that they most value. It's sort of third after comedy and drama. What we do have on our platform is lots of shows, services from partners, from like Discoveries and Nat Geos and things like that. But what we weren't doing was owning our own future and having our own brands and our own programming. So that's why we started those services, and that's why we're commissioning. So we own our own future. We also took Sky Arts free to air. That's about our brand. That's about Sky giving back something to the nation and making sure that we want people to enjoy and love that service and show that we are really part of the cultural community in the UK.
So obviously, when you look at Sky's output, there are a lot of kind of glossy, big budget productions. What about, you know, producers starting out that might not be kind of working to that sort of budget? Do you have space for them as well?
Well, absolutely. But I think, you know, for us, it's always, there's two very straightforward factors in commissioning. Everyone says this, but there's the idea and there's the capacity to make the idea. So for us to invest huge sums of money, we have to have belief that you have the organisation or the capability to make it. But we have a huge array of suppliers. We work across the board with, you know, there was people who've made their first TV series for us that are dramas. They may be film companies that have made films before. Equally, across the genres, there's plenty of scope for companies to get involved with us. You know, it's about the idea. And if you're a small company and you maybe haven't got the scale or the infrastructure to make something, you know, like a huge Chernobyl-esque show, then, you know, there's plenty of ways that we can help you or point you to partner up to get that, you know, get those shows away. But our doors are open. It's about the ideas, and then we take it from there.
Now, Sky's sort of wedged between the public service broadcasters and the streamers as well. Where do you think Sky sits in the market?
I don't think anyone sits at home going, like normal humans don't go, oh, what content am I going to watch tonight? And the normal humans don't go, which streaming service shall I try? Or shall I tonight go for a free-to-air channel? It's all about the shows. It's about what you're in the mood for. And what we at Sky need to do is make sure you want to take a Sky subscription because there's something for everyone in your home that's one of their favourite shows. So it's about the shows being brilliant. And I think, look, there's loads of shows across streaming and so on. But, you know, there are a lot of shows being made, which are good shows. I still don't think there's a lot of great shows.
Now, talking of great shows, how important was Chernobyl for you in terms of drama programming? And does it bring quite a lot of pressure now it's so successful?
Look, I think it's an incredibly... We couldn't be more delighted with the success of Chernobyl. It's amazing. It's the most awarded single show at the BAFTAs of all time, and deservedly so. When we commissioned that show, and even as we got ready to air that show, we thought it would be... We knew it was exceptionally well made and brilliantly put together, but we couldn't tell the public's reaction was going to be quite as big as it was. I thought it might do, you know, at the best bet, it might get towards 1 million viewers if we were really lucky. It smashed it through 3.5 million. And also it took on this life and it got talked about and recommended. And all we can ever do is invest in the creator's vision and help them get the show they want to make. That's exactly what that team, what Craig Mazin, what Johan Renck, the director, wanted to make. And we were there just to help. We were there not just, but we were there to help them make sure they could realise that. But you can never do it with a view going, this one's going to be the one that's going to win loads of awards. This one's the one that's going to get 10 million viewers or whatever. It doesn't work like that. You're making shows and to make sure your brand and your service feels like it's whole and it's balanced and you've got enough of the right things for different audiences and that the quality level is really high. My team's job, or especially my job, is often the quality controller.
There must be a bit of a buzz, though, when something goes so massive and you kind of, your intuition or your gut said, you know, months or years before we got to commission this. Do you get a buzz when you see something fly?
It's amazing. It's the best thing ever, seeing something you've either read, you know, just sometimes it's just a sentence, or you've taken a pitch with the commissioning team and eventually you see it on telly and then eventually you see people loving it. It's incredible. It's amazing. And for the whole of Sky, Chernobyl it's a pivotal moment because we'd been making pretty good telly up until then already, and we continue to make amazing telly. You know, the year before Chernobyl, we'd won the BAFTA for Patrick Melrose, right? But I think Chernobyl was a moment when everyone goes, oh, we've got to take you guys really seriously. And that you're in this, we're shoulder to shoulder with the very best in the world now.
OK, let's take a look at one of your new dramas, Intergalactic.
This is AH107. Responding. I'm a Commonwealth Sky Cop.
National Bank, you're under arrest.
You have been named traitors to the Commonwealth. You are now being exiled to a detention facility on Valdi.
Tonight, I'm gonna have myself a good
Nobody move. We need to get to Arcadia. I'll kill anyone who stands in the way.
You shot the pilot, Mama? You told us not to shoot the pilot.
Well, she's crazy.
What did you just say? I'm undercover with a group of escaped convicts. You were spied. Something like that.
Shoot on sight.
They're heading straight for us.
We don't hide.
We fight.
Trust me. There is a plan for us.
Warning. Impact.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
So, Zai, Intergalactic out in April. Tell us what we can expect.
So it is a sort of high concept, a high adrenaline, sort of Planet of the Week show. It's a really audacious, massive soap opera piece, but set in space. So it's essentially it's a women's prison ship in space where there's a mutiny, and then they're off. And each week you're at a different planet as their sort of overarching narrative continues. It's got really, I think we often refer to it as sort of prison. Orange is the New Black in space. So it's got there's fun at the heart of it. Our writer Julie Geary is, she's got a wonderful way of writing things that are really down to earth, but also she keeps fun in these pieces. And I think you can see from that trailer, there's a lot of money on screen. There's great production value to it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, you go for it.
I was just going to say it's for Sky. It's for Sky One. It's in April, and the whole point about the Sky One dramas is that they are that kind of lean back, entertaining, fun pieces. That they've got great stories. They've got twists and turns, but you'll know who the hero is. You'll know who the villain is, and you'll have a great romp along the way.
I was going to say, not to cast any aspersions on sci-fi, but old school sci-fi could be a bit nerdy, but this Intergalactic feels very cool. It sort of feels like the characters are very cool. It feels, it feels like a sort of a new era for sci-fi.
Well, I think specifically the guys, the commissioning team and the production team really want to come at this, and it's heavily female cast. The vast majority of our cast are female, and that's what I think is different in the sci-fi world. In the sci-fi world, that's not normally the case. So it's quite crashing those two things together, soap opera and sci-fi.
And I guess you are also under pressure as commissioners and as heads of channels to cast more women into the lead protagonist roles. I mean, can you make a sci-fi now that just has lots of male superheroes? Presumably that is seen as very old-fashioned.
I just don't think you can make any show that feels like doesn't reflect the world that we actually live in. We are fastidious and we work really hard on making sure we've got range we're inclusive and all across everything in all of our shows. It's so important. Audiences will just desert you if it was all white men. It'd be terrible. So it's a big part of giving authorship is sort of the dramas we've announced. So we've announced Wolf, which is something that's come from Paul Abbott. It's a sort of criminal pathologist detective show. Something we really wanted to have on Sky One was a sort of a crime procedural piece, but a heightened one, a sort of pay TV version. And something from Paul Abbott in that world is something you can't ignore. So that was fantastic. We also got David Farr, who's adapting the Midwich Cuckoos, and David Farr obviously did The Night Manager. He's a phenomenal writer. And Joe Barton's writing Extinction. So there's 3 writers that are at the top of their game that are all doing something now for Sky.
So you're promising to make future Sky originals eco-friendly, more sustainable. Do you feel a pressure to do that, or is that something that you just feel ethically you should be doing?
I think it's like these are things that you're on a journey to do in production. Production has changed as time has gone on. Health and safety has got better. And we're now all much more conscious about the planet. It's something we all have a responsibility to do. And Sky especially, we take it incredibly seriously. And Jeremy, our group CEO, now executive chairman, is incredibly passionate about it. So we've done it across the board on all of our originations and made sure that they're net carbon neutral. And we're applying the Planet Test to show to our commissioning from the future as well, to make sure we all just remind ourselves to try to make sure, because telly is such an amazing, powerful force for change. We don't want to force things in that don't fit editorially into shows, but where we can have a positive impact. We really want to try.
So we've seen a lot of changes at Sky in terms of the CEO changing. What do you think the future is for the company?
So, yes, Dana's come in now, and I met her this week, just very briefly to have a chat. She was in quarantine before she could come into the office, and she'd been watching loads of our shows. So I had a nice chat with her about Roald and Beatrix, which she watched and really enjoyed. I think the big thing in my area is the investment on screen. That's something that we announced a couple of years ago when Comcast were already 18 months into their ownership of Sky. So Comcast massively behind it. They absolutely endorsed that. The fact that we're moving up to spend £1 billion per year on originals by 2024, a big part of that is the backing of Comcast. So that's not changing anytime soon.
So we've talked a lot about serious documentaries, but of course, you are also producing lots of comedy. Let's talk about Brassic. We can look at a clip now.
O'Neill, it's time. You can just remove your trousers, please.
What's the deal? I mean, have you always wanted to do this for a living, or what?
Kind of fell into it, really. Sorry, not me.
I've got a job for us. Dude, I've just come out of the nick. I'm not looking to go back. I feel responsible for that lad. Do you know what I mean?
This will be the easiest donut you've ever earned in your life.
It's not enough. You don't even know how much is there. How much is there? Loads. Sick. Nailed it. We might be thieves, but we're not liars. Well.
Don't let me down, Ben.
I won't let you do.
Oh, you're having a laugh if you think I'm that daft.
He's a big lad, isn't he?
We've got a problem.
Chocolate guys. Oh, fuck.
Not good, yeah? Not good, no.
Get ready, lads, it's coming!
One of those will be 2 kilos. Don't weigh it down with piss.
Be careful, Cardi, now, because that's almost full.
Almost, people!
I got him full!
Hugely exciting. Tell us a bit more about this show.
So it's season 3 of Brassic, and it's been an absolute massive success for us. The first one got nearly 2 million viewers. The second one came back with the same amount. It was the brainchild of Joe Gilgan. It's a lot of it comes from his personal life, which is quite scary when you watch it because there's some really weird stuff they get up to. But it's these guys who are a group of people who are living around Manchester. They're sort of low-level thieves, and it's how they what they do to get by. It's an out-and-out comedy drama. You love the characters. You really want to care about their stories, but there are big proper laughs in it, as you can see from that clip, which the ending of that clip just makes me cringe every time.
And just out of interest, Si, where does your heart lie, do you think? I know you're going to say, all programmes have their place, but are you a comedy man? Are you a documentaries man? Where do you do you have a favourite sort of genre?
Well, that's the way to make all of my genre routines really awkward for the future. Thank you. At home, I tend to watch fiction at home and narrative pieces to relax a bit more. But I love watching all of our shows come together, and it's just a joy when that you see people, getting them and loving them.
Very diplomatic answer.
Thank you.
So you've added 30 new films to your lineup. Is that to compete with the likes of Netflix and these other giants?
So adding the films to Sky Cinema is about adding value to that subscription, because Sky Cinema is probably the premium home cinema service in the world. We've got deals with loads of studios where we get, so after a film goes cinemas when they're open again, they normally come to us about 9 months later. But what we really wanted to add was exclusivity and something they can't get anywhere else. So it's really important for us that we're doing it for our customers. Absolutely, lots of other people are doing it as well. But for us, it's all about customers first, what's best for them. And it's about really high quality, really big stars, like some of the stars you mentioned at the beginning, Judi Dench, Morgan Freeman, Robert De Niro. These are huge films, big stars, and you won't be able to see them anywhere else. So it's a really important part of us being able to give value for that subscription.
Do you have to work harder these days? Is it much more competitive?
So I think it's harder and harder to make shows stand out and make shows famous. And that's why the Sky's marketing machine is really important. And the fact that we can get behind things, that's hard. And it's an incredibly competitive market for content, for shows, for creators and for talent. So for certain, for writers and directors and so on, always incredibly hard to get them booked onto your shows. But the way we sort of approach it at Sky is we're often looking for shows that from the very beginning, we develop them from the beginning. And we also, we're really investing in that sort of authorship that these creators have. So they're there from the beginning. It's something they really want to make. And that's how we get them to work with us.
Now, you know, the arts has suffered hugely from the pandemic. So many people have lost their jobs, and there's probably never been a bleaker time for the arts. But how can Sky Arts support the industry? Do you play a role, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've tried to take... Sky Arts invest in the arts first and foremost, so that's great. And very much often in the traditional arts, who are under such a lot of pressure at the moment, and we're trying to help them with business models or ways of getting to screen, and trying to make sure that we can make sure we're helping them with funding and getting shows or theatre shows, whatever it might be, filming them without audiences and putting them onto our service. So we're doing as much as that as we can. And in really inventive ways as well. Especially the move to free-to-air for us with Sky Arts was very much about being artist-led and artist-first. We've got a really entertaining, great arts channel. We've still got things like Portrait Artist of the Year and Landscape Artist of the Year. But we're doing more and more things where we have artists taking over the channel, or it's really about their ideas first that we're then helping them sort of get onto telly. So it's about promoting the arts and pushing the arts and being sort of a force for good for the arts.
Now, by 2025, Sky want 1 in 5 of their employees to be from Black or ethnic minority backgrounds. Do you think that's realistic?
I think that targets are really helpful, and I hope that is realistic. I can tell you one thing I know about Sky for sure, which is Sky likes setting itself a target and then beating it or smashing it. We're pretty ruthless and commercial in terms of that, and we managed to do it for all of our other sort of economic and ways that we work. So doing it for our societal good as well, I think is a great thing. We've had targets within production and on screen since 2014, and they've really helped us because they focus us on what are we doing. It's a moment for us to coalesce and look at and judge ourselves, and also to the rest of the community and production community and to the world, say this is how we're doing it. You also hold us to account. So I think it's only part of it. It's then all about how you actually achieve it.
Do you think in the industry there's been quite a strong focus on on-screen representation in terms of diversity, and that occasionally, the producers and the people behind the scenes who inform the storytelling has kind of been not as much of a focus?
Well, that was true and I think that's a big part of why production targets were brought in. And as I said, we were amongst the first to do that. So this sounds quite harsh, but there's no excuse on screen for not being inclusive, right? You're there casting. You get to cast, so you should you should be able to. There are some sorts of shows, documentaries, and stories where you've got to follow the story that you're following because it's a factual piece. But generally, where you have control, you need to be. There's no excuse to not be inclusive. Behind the screen, it's the same thing. We've all got choices about who and how we employ. But it's then what we need to do is, rather than be sort of draconian about it and just say to our indies and our producers, fix it for us, is how can we help you? Is it about giving you more time to make a show? Is it about giving you more money to make a show so that you can bring people on, you can train people? And the way we look at it is every show is bespoke, and the solution to making sure they're inclusive is bespoke. So we work with every producer on each show, make sure that the lineup of the heads of department is inclusive. And if it can't be, then what else can we do?
Now, of course, you came from BBC Three. You're now a corporate giant. What is more important to you, sort of commercial success or critical acclaim?
Well, they have to go hand in hand. Look, Sky is a commercial entity, but we make money by our customers being satisfied and loving the subscription. And that's because they've got shows they can't get anywhere else that they think are awesome. And so part of people sometimes thinking things are awesome is winning the odd award.
It does help. And finally, Zai, let's be honest, 2020 was a complete washout for most people. What are your dreams for 2021 for Sky?
Well, it's the same as everyone else, isn't it? Get this pandemic done, and let's get back to normal and make telly normally. And I think we're on an amazing trajectory. I'm really delighted about the way that our comedy and our drama has landed. What we now need to do is make sure our original film lands in that sort of significant way, and so do our documentaries.
Zai, it's lovely to talk to you.
Nice to see you, Minnie. Thanks very much.
with all that?